In this video, you'll learn when to tap and how to tap to reduce social anxiety gradually over time in a way that is very, very simple. My name is Seb. I'm a former social anxiety disorder sufferer turned social confidence coach. And since 2009, I combined the best of psychology with EFT tapping to overcome social anxiety. So I got a question on my YouTube channel, and it is as follows. All right, Sep, what you're saying is rank on a scale of 0 to 10 the emotional intensity when you think about that event, or about this problem that you have. But my feeling is always 0 when I'm not in the real moment. How can I make EFT work in this case? And my answer is going to answer him and also everyone else who does have access to their feelings. So this is for you, regardless. All right, so you want to tap, this is the answer, and then I'm going to go into detail. Before social situations, during social situations, and after social situations. I'm first going to tell you why, and then I'm going to tell you how to do that. All right, so why do you need to do that? Well, your brain or your nervous system is like a prediction machine. So it's predicting how something is going to play out, how a social situation is going to be. And guess what it's using to base that prediction on? The past, what you've actually experienced, right? So if you had bullying experiences, well, then it learned all sorts of things like, well, people that look in this particular way are mean. And also, I'm an easy target. And now you've got this upcoming social situation. And when you're thinking about that or when you're in it, I'm registering that as similar to the bullying experiences. So that means danger. So my prediction is danger. So your nervous system is predicting danger. Um, as a result, you're perceiving threat in the social situation. Fight, flight, freeze response gets activated. Your system floods with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate starts to increase. Blood gets moved to your outer limbs so you can fight, and you feel anxious, right? That's the crappy situation. So it's predicting those situations. And what you then want to do is you want to start tapping. Because what tapping does is it sends a little calming signal, a little safety signal to the part of your brain called the amygdala. And that basically tells your brain, your nervous system, it's safe, it's okay, relax, calm down. And gradually you begin to calm down a little bit. Now, what's interesting or essential is that that creates a prediction error. So your nervous system is predicting danger based upon past experience. And when you are interrupting that with the tapping and you're sending a safety signal instead, it's predicting danger, but it's actually experiencing a little bit more safety. So then your brain or your nervous system goes, I was wrong. It's not that much danger, it's less danger. Or if you do enough tapping and you get all the way to 0, it's like, hey, there's no danger, right? That's where you're ultimately wanting to go to. That's why with tapping, you can end up feeling no social anxiety in a social situation. That's what you're ultimately after. All right. So tap before, during, and after. Now, before, unfortunately, if you are like Raphael, you do not feel any anxiety when you're thinking with your eyes closed at home. Most people do. But if you don't, well, then maybe as the social situation starts to get closer, eventually anxiety comes up. Well, then that's when you start tapping. If that also doesn't happen and you only get triggered inside the social situation, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to start tapping in your face in the middle of a social situation? Of course not. So what do you do then? Well, you can do finger tapping. Okay? You can do that out of sight. In fact, I'm doing it right now, and I'm here talking to you, and you do not know that I'm doing it. So it's on the outside of the nail bed of the thumb, and at the inside of the nail bed of the index, middle, ring, baby finger. And you can just do it like that. In the beginning, it's a bit awkward, but you do it for 15 minutes and it gets, you get used to it. You just go down the ladder. You can have it in your pocket, under the table, behind your back, whatever. That way you can be tapping. Now, important caution. Do not use the tapping while you're in a social situation to try to get rid of the anxiety, because that just adds, um, you know, fuel to the anxiety fire, right? We don't want that. Instead, what we want to do is we want to, as best we can, and this is challenging, okay? This is like, karate level 10 black belt strategy, but it's you want to accept and allow the anxiety symptoms that you're experiencing while you're tapping. Okay, and even if that only brings in a tiny bit of calm, that creates a prediction error, and now you are retraining your nervous system for safety just with that little bit. Okay, so that's during a social situation. Now, of course, if you're very triggered, you could also go to the toilet. And then when you're on the toilet, you look for whatever is bothering you most, whatever is, you can ask yourself, what is most scary about this situation? Or what is triggering me the most? Or what is the worst case scenario that I fear might happen? Or what is most threatening about this situation? Whatever your answer is, that's what you tap on. You hold that in your mind while you tap from point to point. You can verbalize it out loud if you want, but even just tapping on the points in many cases will begin to reduce it. I'm not going to talk about, other things that could be going on which can stop the tapping. I'm talking about the simplest application here that works for most people most of the time. It always works when you know what to do when there are obstacles, but this is what works most of the time. Okay, so then we've covered before. Well, our friend Raphael cannot bring anything up, but he can, like, as it starts to happen, he can start tapping then. And if you already have anticipatory anxiety about something that comes up in a day or in 2 days, well, guess what? Your mind is 2 days in advance predicting danger, and you're still in the comfort of your own home. Great. You can start tapping on all the thoughts and feelings and bodily sensations that come up. Think about the worst case scenario. Think about the things that you're afraid of happening. Um, Ask yourself, what negative things am I expecting? Why is it going to be torture? And all the answers that you get to that, you can tap on those emotionalized thoughts. Just hold one of them in your mind, do a round of tapping, and then the next, and then the next. That's one way of going about it. That's very simple and easy to follow. Or you can focus on the feelings that you notice in your body. You might have like a tightness in your chest, so focus on the tightness in your chest, do a round of tapping, right? Or you might just notice, maybe you have more self-awareness and you're just like, actually, the emotion that I'm feeling is terror. You can just focus on the terror, the feeling of terror, and how that shows up for you all the time while you're tapping. Now, you do not need to come all the way down to 0. That's ideal. But even if you go from an 8 to, say, like a 6, you're making some progress here. You're creating that prediction error, so that's what you're after. Now, finally, afterwards, so you might have had a social situation, it was awkward, it was uncomfortable, and you feel like, ugh, and you come home and you still feel anxious. Great. Start tapping, start focusing on the bodily sensations that you have, the emotions that you're feeling, the thoughts that you're having, how you're beating yourself up about what you should have said and what you should not have said, and what you could have done and how you felt that you shouldn't have felt, and what happened, and just anything and everything while you're tapping. Because everything that you focus on, that you add tapping to, begins to slowly calm down. And when it's calming down, you are starting to train your nervous system that it's not as dangerous as you thought that it was. And that begins to update its prediction going forward. So these moments of before, during, and after are fantastic to tap on. Raphael. So if you don't have any feelings, that's that. That's what you want to do. Now, if you do have feelings, you can use everything that I've said up until this video. Maybe what comes now is not as relevant. This is specific for Raphael. If you are not able to feel your feelings, I had that as well. I used this in the beginning. And then eventually I had done enough inner work and inner transformation, and I started to feel my feelings again. Usually, what's going on when you're not able to feel your emotions doesn't mean that you cannot ever feel your emotions, just means that you likely experienced very difficult times over a longer period of time, and your system has kind of dialed down the sensitivity of those feelings. In other words, it's not safe for you to have access to those feelings. When you start doing more inner transformation and your system recognizes that it's now safe to feel the feelings that are buried deep down because you've got a good regulation tool for it, you've got a therapist that is assisting you with it, your feelings can gradually begin to come back. Additional tools that might be worth considering that help me: Psych K, psychological kinesiology, and emotion code. They're quite out there, but they can be very helpful. So that is that, and matrix re-imprinting, and definitely working with a therapist. That's it. To summarize, you have a anxiety experience because your brain is perceiving threat, right? It's your nervous system is predicting danger, it's predicting threat based upon stuff that happened. You can use moments where you get triggered, before, during, and after, to update its prediction, and that will gradually begin to reduce your social anxiety. Not always, because there's also things like, are you accepting the anxiety or are you fighting with it? Are you resistant to change? And a bunch of other things that I won't go into here. But just doing this for most people is going to make a difference. So do that and let me know how it goes. Hope this helps. This is Seb from socialanxietysolutions.com. Bye for now.